Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining us from today. My name is Lindsay, and I'm from Seed Global Education. And while you're filtering into the room, what I'd like to do is invite you to let us know where you're calling in from today. So please just use the chat function to say the city and the country that you're dialing in from. I think everybody here on this call already is in Toronto right now. So good morning in Toronto, and good evening in Kolkata, and let's see some others. Carl saying hello as well. So use that chat function as you're joining the call to let us know where you're coming in from. Hyderabad, fantastic, Mitali. Where in India, Nanya? So keep those coming, and we're going to get started because we have a really packed agenda today. So once again, my name is Lindsay Hilgoat. I am from Seed Global Education, and we organize interactions and facilitate interactions between top universities like our host, the Schulich School of Business today, and top students like yourselves. In addition to virtual masterclasses like we have in today's session, we also host in-person events to help connect highly qualified candidates with top schools. We were just in tour around India. We do the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And so hopefully we can also meet you in person or on some other calls that we have. We also have a $6.5 million scholarship program, of which Schulich has some top awards for their various master's and MBA programs, and Carl will tell us a little bit more about that later as well. So what is the theme of today's master class? Well, it is about your Canadian degree and your future and the immigration pathways and career outcomes that you can expect from doing a Canadian degree, and also the support that you could expect if you do choose to go to one of Schulich's programs. So our host today is the Schulich School of Business at York University in Toronto, Canada. And we will be hearing from a number of different speakers, a top alumnus from India, also the international relations team and immigration and student support specialists and the Center for Career Design. So I will introduce each speaker as we go through. But first, we're going to start with the recruitment and admissions team to learn a little bit more about the Schulich School of Business, the programs offered, and the admissions requirements. So with that, I'm going to pass it first over to Carl Sachs, and he is the Director of Recruitment and Admissions at Schulich, and Carl will be sharing with you a little bit more about the school and the programs.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen here. Does it say, welcome to the Schulich School of Business? Thumbs up. That's what I like to see. All right. As Lindsay said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Sachs, and I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at the Schulich School of Business. Now, for anyone not already familiar with Schulich, we are part of York University, which is the third largest university in Canada, and we are located in Toronto, Canada's largest city and the fourth largest city in North America, known for being diverse and welcoming and multicultural. About 50% of the people that live in Toronto were born outside of Canada, so we're used to having people from other countries and cultures and backgrounds around us, and we like that. Toronto is also the financial and business center of Canada, so you'll find major banking, consulting, multinationals, tech startups, everything else in our city, and the Greater Toronto area is Canada's largest job market. Also very important, anyone completing one of our programs is eligible for a 3-year post-graduation open work permit that is not tied to a specific job. My colleague Anne will be going into a bit more detail about that later. So for those interested in coming to Canada and staying and living here after graduation, Schulich is a great option to help you get there. You'll also be hearing from Kunal a little bit later, one of our graduates who that was his experience when he came and joined us. And of course, we have that great immigration advising team that's going to help you through all those steps. So Schulich, we're consistently ranked among the top business schools in Canada and around the world, and those rankings have a lot to do with the strength of our programs and world-class faculty, industry connections, and strong employability and return on investment that our graduates can expect. Now, mirroring that diversity in Toronto, about half of our students are international, representing more than 48 different countries, creating a truly global and dynamic learning environment inside those classrooms. And when they graduate, they join a powerful and well-connected alumni network of over 37,000 professionals in more than 90 countries. So about some of our programs, our flagship MBA is recognized for its flexibility and its depth. In the first year, students build a solid foundation across all core key areas of business from a general management perspective. And in the second year, They fully customize by experience or their experience by choosing from over 15 different specialization areas, allowing them to focus on the industries and functions that matter most to their career goals. They can also complete an 8-month, or they will also complete an 8-month strategic consulting project with a real client, gaining hands-on experience and building valuable industry connections. And the program offers both a September and January intake. The duration is usually 20 months. So 8 months, then a 4-month break where people pursue an internship, and then another 8 months. Then we have the Tech MBA program. The Tech MBA is a highly focused program designed for individuals working in the tech industry or in tech-enabled roles. While the general MBA prepares students to pivot or into new functions or industries, the Tech MBA is built to help students deepen their expertise and advance as leaders within the technology sector. 3 key highlights for this program is a one-to-one mentorship program with senior tech executives, the Venture Studio project, where students work on real company challenges, and a guaranteed paid internship that provides valuable Canadian experience and industry connections. The duration of this program is 16 months. We also offer 9 highly specialized 12-month master's programs. You can see them all listed here. Each program is course-based, practical, and industry-focused. These degrees help students build strong technical and leadership skills while often working towards industry-recognized certifications and designations. Most of our programs also include an experiential consulting project where students work directly with a Toronto-based company to solve challenges and apply what they've learned in a real-world setting. For the September 2026 intake, you can see here the MF, MHIA, MMGT, MMKG, and MRAI programs are all still open. The other programs have a May start, and we're close to applications for that intake for our international candidates due to the study permit processing timeline. This is a super high level overview of our requirements. We're looking for strong academic background, sufficient English proficiency, and a strong interview. The MBA, Masters of Finance, and Masters of Accounting do require a GMAT or GRE test. But in some cases, this can be waived if someone has a strong quantitative background, like if they have a CFA level 1 or higher. Other programs don't have a GMAT or GRE requirement. The MBA and Tech MBA program require a minimum of 2 years of full-time post-grad work experience. Of course, the full details for this are available on our website. And we, of course, encourage you to join us for other upcoming sessions. These are program-specific sessions or master classes, panels, events. That's where you can find the QR code here on your screen. And following the session, everyone in attendance will be emailed an application fee waiver code. That is a special activity or promotion for those that have joined today. And that is for all the programs that are listed here on your screen. So thanks so much. That's a high-level information about our programs and application process. With that, I'll pass it back to Lindsay Hillcoat.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carl. We are going to move forward onto our next presenter, but just after a poll. So you learned that yes, if you attend today, you will get an application fee waiver for Schulich. And we'll move a little bit more into how Schulich supports international students and the unique supports available, but then also what those outcomes look like. So what does it look like to be a Schulich alum, international student working in Canada as well? So first, let's understand a little bit what you know about the immigration landscape in Canada, and how familiar are you with Canada's immigration pathways? So you can see a poll that has popped up on your screen, and we're going to invite you to answer here. So we're going to give you another 5 seconds or so. So please answer how familiar you are with the pathways. Very familiar, somewhat familiar, heard of them, or not familiar at all. All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to close the poll. And great that you're at today's session because you are going to learn a lot more about this. So nobody said they were very familiar. 42% said not familiar at all. So Anne has her work cut out for her today. I am going to share the results here so you can see. And then we'll do one more quick poll before I bring on our next speaker. And you can see here. Sorry. I have to stop sharing here so you can see our second poll. So our second poll is, what worries you the most about immigration planning? As you're thinking about studying abroad, is it the changing policies? Is it the eligibility requirements? Is it timelines, or is it documentation? So what is your biggest worry? Maybe it's all of them. but what's the largest worry that you have in immigration planning for studying abroad? I'm going to end our poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we'll share those results, and you can see that eligibility requirements is your number one worry, followed by changing policies. So these are some great input for our next speaker, so she can tailor her presentation to some of the questions. And I'll just remind you, thank you for introducing yourselves in the chat. I saw some people from Ghana, from Nigeria joining as well, and now we've moved to our Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. And what you can do is ask any questions that you have of Anne or any of our panelists in the Q&A function, and we'll get to those throughout the presentation. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Anne Welsh, who is the Director of International Relations at the Schulich School of Business, and we'll be going through to answer your immigration questions. Over to you, Anne.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And hopefully you can all now see my screen. It's wonderful to be here. I hope you're having a great evening, a good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you're joining us from. As Lindsay mentioned, I'm the Director of International Relations at the Schulich School of Business. I'm also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I've been practicing Canadian immigration law for close to 15 years now, and I can understand your confusion and some of the concerns you have about Canadian immigration and how rapidly things are changing. So my goal in the very short time I have with you today is to help bring a little bit of confidence to your decision-making around Canadian immigration and to trust that the supports are in place to help you navigate this complicated system, both before you come to Schulich as well as while you're at Schulich and after you leave Schulich. So we support students all the way from when they are first admitted to Schulich all the way through to post-graduation and beyond. So really happy to walk you through some of these topics today and happy to answer your questions towards the end of the session. So really quickly, we're going to run through a number of topics, primarily looking at some of the changes to the international student program, and then address some of the main concerns that we find international students have about studying in Canada, including, can I work in Canada? Where can I stay? What if I want to stay and get permanent residence? What does that look like for me? And then when I'm done at my session, I'll be handing, Dr. Minerva Sanera will come in and speak a little bit more about our career pathways and outcomes for international students. And then we'll talk more about what is it like to actually navigate this system as an international student. But before I begin, I always have to do a disclaimer. That's part of the legal business. So what I'm about to discuss is really general information. You are all very unique in how you intersect with Canadian immigration law. And we have a very experienced team at Schulich to help you understand your particular pathways, both to study permits, as well as potentially permanent residence, work permits, things like that, okay? I would encourage all of you. There is a ton of misinformation out there. So be very careful where you get your information from when it comes to Canadian immigration law. Things are, as we mentioned already, changing rapidly. So make sure you're using trusted sources. If you are admitted to Schulich, if you apply and you're admitted, you will have access to experienced professionals who work regularly in the immigration sector to guide you through these processes, okay? So really quickly, yes, there have been many changes, and you may have heard about these changes over the last year and a half, 2 years or so, but we have seen a number of changes coming to the immigration law that directly impact international students. And we know that that may create some confusion and concerns among those who are considering Canada. But what I'm here to tell you is actually these changes are positive. These changes are designed to protect you and to ensure the quality and integrity of Canada's post-secondary sector, and to ensure that when international students enter Canada, you're set up for success. So these changes are not meant to penalize you. They're actually meant to ensure that Canada is bringing in the best of the best who can actually contribute to Canada's long-term economic growth. And as you'll find out in a couple of minutes, Canada wants you to stay. So there are pathways that are designed to support you in remaining in Canada should you choose to build a life and a career here. And one of the most important changes that came about actually fairly recently is the Canadian government's prioritization of graduate studies. So one of the things that the Canadian government has recently signaled with some policy shifts late last year is that the government is actively encouraging international students to consider Canada for graduate school. So there's a number of things that the Canadian government has done to really welcome graduate students like yourself to the country. One of those is removing the study permit caps that the government had put in place a couple of years ago. So they had put some caps in place to make sure that we were only admitting a certain number of international students. They've removed those caps for students who are applying for graduate studies in Canada. In addition, they've also taken away the provincial attestation letter requirement for graduate students. So what that means is that you now have a more streamlined or an easier process with less administrative hurdles when you're applying for your study permit. And then another change that came into effect specifically for master's students in the last couple of years is the government wants you to stay in Canada and work and contribute to the Canadian economy. So they actually recently lengthened the length or the duration of the work permit that you're eligible to apply for post-graduation. So we call it the post-graduation work permit, which would allow you to actually stay and work in Canada for up to 3 years. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in about a minute or so. But this is really just to showcase for you that not only is the Canadian government open for graduate studies and for students who want to come to Canada to study in master's programs, but they're actively supporting you in pursuing graduate education in Canada. Now, we know there's a lot of concern about study permits. That is the first immigration hurdle that you have to get through in order to come and study in Canada. So I'm not going to go through the whole study permit process right now. If you are admitted to the Schulich School of Business, we have a team who will support you on your study permit application, providing very detailed assistance to you. But just some really, really quick tips for thinking about this process. Make sure you start early. Make sure you understand the process of applying for a study permit, the eligibility requirements, and take your time. Make sure you're working with a qualified representative. Again, if you're admitted to Schulich, you will have that as part of your support here at Schulich. We work one-on-one with students if there is a study permit refusal. And we also provide specialized workshops around how do you meet the financial requirements. We know that's a major concern. We know that some of you have heard that there's a very high refusal rate from a lot of African countries, and that is probably concerning for you. We provide specialized support around regional study permit application requirements. So we will work with you. If you're from one of those countries where you're concerned about high refusal rates, we'll work directly with you to make sure you understand how do you structure your finances so that you're most likely to pass that eligibility requirement. Okay, so again, the study permit application is a very important application. Make sure that you're prioritizing it and that you're putting your best foot forward when you submit your first application by working with qualified representatives who can support you in that process. Okay, so a couple other things that I wanted to review in terms of the benefits of studying in Canada and dispel some of the myths that are out there right now. So one of the biggest draws for international students to choose Canada is the ability to stay and work here after graduation. So I mentioned it earlier, it's something called the post-graduation work permit. And yes, there have been changes to how the post-graduation work permit program is facilitated. However, I'm really happy to let you know that those changes do not impact students who are coming to Schulich's master's programs. So all of Schulich's master's programs are not only eligible for the post-graduation work permit upon completion of your program, but you're actually eligible for the longest duration post-graduation work permit available, which is 3 years. You do not need a job offer to apply for this work permit. You just need to complete your program. So you come to Schulich, you study in your program, and then we support you in applying for your post-graduation work permit, which will allow you to stay here and work in Canada for up to 3 years. Okay. Another question that often comes up is, well, what about getting Canadian experience while I'm studying? Can I work? So it's important to note that your study permit confers work authorization on you during your studies. So you will be able to work while you study to gain Canadian experience, to offset some of your costs in Canada. And the Canadian government actually recently increased the number of hours that international students can work off campus. So you can work up to 24 hours per week off campus, unlimited hours on campus during your studies. And for those of you who want to pursue full-time internships, there are opportunities to do that during scheduled break terms. So again, we provide all this information to you and support you in this process throughout your time at Schulich. Now, one of the bigger things, I'm sure for many of you, because I've worked with thousands of international students at Schulich and across the board, there is some desire to remain in Canada and to obtain permanent residence, which is fantastic. The Canadian government wants you to stay, and they have provided pathways to support international students in obtaining permanent residence post-graduation. So yes, you may be hearing in the news that permanent residence is getting harder to obtain, and that is generally true. However, what often gets overlooked is that permanent residence options for those who have Canadian study experience and Canadian work experience are actually expanding. So the Canadian government is prioritizing permanent residence pathways for individuals who have studied and worked in the country. So regardless, a Canadian degree and work experience in the country, which you obtain on that post-graduation work permit, will remain an incredibly valuable asset to you if you wish to pursue permanent residence. So we, as I mentioned already, our dedicated team, we have 3 regulated Canadian immigration consultants on team. Our team will support you, will work with you one-on-one to understand what are your pathways to permanent residence. There's over 60 different pathways to PR. So it's not something that a lot of people can easily navigate on their own, which is why Schulich provides that dedicated support to you during your time with us. Okay, one last thing that I wanted to mention, because this will often come up for graduate students, your families. You want to move across the world to pursue graduate studies, you need support. At Schulich, we understand and encourage students to rely on family support during their graduate studies. It's really, really important. So we not only provide support to you and your family, but the Canadian government also encourages and provides pathways for your family members to come with you while you study here. So if you have children, your school-age children can come with you. They can actually qualify for free education here in Ontario in our public school system. And if you have a spouse or a partner, common law partner, they can also come with you. Some spouses are eligible for an open work permit so that they can work while you study. So there's lots of opportunities for your family to come with you and support you while you're pursuing graduate studies here in Canada. Okay. Okay, so to sum all that up before we talk about career outcomes, why would you choose Canada? Canada is open for international students. Canada is actively making adjustments to ensure the international student program supports and protects international students to ensure that post your degree, you have a strong career path and a strong career outcome. So there's a lot of benefit to studying in Canada, including all the things that we just spoke about, work authorization, post-grad work permits, pathways to permanent residence, support for family members. So a lot of reasons why Canada makes an ideal study destination for international students. And just before I end, because I've referenced this a lot, Schulich provides an incredibly high level of support to international students. So we, as I mentioned already, we have a team of 3 regulated Canadian immigration consultants who are dedicated just to Schulich students. They work one-on-one with you from your study permit, through work permits, to permanent residence, all the way through and beyond. As you can see on the screen in front of you, there is a number of supports available beyond immigration as well. So transition support, wellness support. We provide a number of check-in events, pre-arrival support to ensure you know what you're doing when you arrive in Canada. So lots of ways that you would receive support from Schulich. So I hope this gave you a really quick, it's a very nuanced and very complicated topic, but I hope this gave you a little bit more confidence in pursuing Canada and pursuing Schulich as your choice for graduate studies. And we look forward to supporting you if you are admitted to Schulich. Thank you so much, everyone. Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Anne. That was great. Very informative. I see a lot of questions in the chat as well. And it's not just the immigration pathways that it sounds like Schulich is supporting international students in. There's also the career side. And I'm happy to welcome Dr. Minerva Cernia, the director of the Center for Career Design at the Schulich School of Business, to tell you a little bit more about how the Center for Career Design supports international students. Over to you, Dr. Minerva.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And I'm very happy to talk a little bit today about the Schulich Center for Career Design and how this center can help you find your dream job if you decide to stay in Canada. In a new country, the rules of the job market can be sometimes unclear. Resume expectations, networking norms, what employers really look for, and how to get that first Canadian experience. Many international students tell us they've applied to roles and heard nothing back, and they are not sure what to change. That's exactly why the Center for Career Design exists, to help you translate your strength into the Canadian market, build experience while you study, and connect with employers who hire Schulich talent. The Center for Career Design isn't just about services, it's about outcomes. Our goal is to make sure your experience, whether it's from India, Africa, China, Europe, or elsewhere, makes sense and lands with Canadian employers. We help you build Canadian experience during your degree, not just after graduation. And we coach you through the realities of the job search so that you are not navigating this experience alone. Career success here doesn't happen overnight. It's a pathway. We start by helping you understand what roles are realistic in Canada and how employers evaluate candidates. Then we focus on helping you build experience while you are studying, connect with employers, and move step by step towards employment. The Center for Career Design works with you across your entire degree, not just at the end, and in fact supports you also after you finish as an alum later on if you want to decide and move further in other type of roles. One of the biggest concerns we hear is how do I position my experience from my home country? Through one-on-one advising, professional development courses, workshops, and career tools, we help you adjust your resume, cover letter, interviews, and networking approach so that your experience is clear and credible to Canadian employers. For example, we had a student with consulting experience abroad, and he needed to help reframe this experience and focus on impact and leadership and results in a way Canadian recruiters expect. And this is the kind of work we provided so that our student was able to secure a position with a local consulting company. Networking is another big concern, and we know it can feel uncomfortable or inefficient in a new culture. The Center for Career Design creates structured opportunities to meet employers through info sessions, recruiting events, and job postings, specifically targeting Schulich students. You are not starting from scratch. You are meeting employers who already understand and value Schulich talent. We have yearly around 700 industry partners that come and recruit from Schulich, and we have long-term relationships with these partners. Canadian experience is often the biggest worry, so we address it directly through internships, co-ops, and experiential education like consulting projects. You are gaining real Canadian experience while studying. This experience helps you test career path, build local references, and strengthen your resume. and often makes the job search after graduation much more manageable. If there is one thing to remember, it's this: you are not alone in navigating a new job market. At Schulich, the Center for Career Design supports you with coaching, Canadian experience, and employer connections from your first term through graduation and after that. If you join Schulich, we will be here to help you build a pathway that makes sense for you and your goals in Canada. And I pass it back to Lindsay. This is a very high level description, but happy to answer later on questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Minerva. I am just going to see if we can get our next slide up to introduce our next speaker. And that is an alum, Kunal Anand, who has completed his MBA in 2020 and is now the Director of Product at Thomson Reuters. And I'm going to let Kunal introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about his journey as an international student, specifically around sort of his immigration pathway and also his career pathway. And then we're going to dig into some questions for Kunal as well from the audience. So please keep them coming in the Q&A. And I'm going to also be welcoming Anne Welsh back on, who will be joining us to answer some questions and around some of the supports that Schulich has as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to bring on Kunal. And Kunal, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and walk us through your journey to Schulich and beyond?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lindsay. It's so nice to be on the other side of these webinars. I remember it was quite some time ago when I was joining these, trying to figure everything out as to how to come to Canada. Hi, everyone. My name is Kunal. I came to Schulich in 2018 and graduated in 2020, the pandemic. I've been working in Canada for about 6 years now, did a couple of different roles, and currently I am the Director of Product for CoCounsel, which is Thomson Reuters AI-powered platform for legal professionals, essentially. So think of it as a ChatGPT, but for lawyers. So that's my current role. I think prior to coming to Schulich, I have a background in engineering from India. I worked in India for about 5 to 6 years and eventually decided to take the step and do my master's. When I was giving my GMAT and, when I was in the entire process, obviously, I was considering various different schools. The reason why Canada felt the right fit is just how welcoming the country in general is for immigrants, how, talking to different people, understanding different things, and the opportunities that were ahead of me at the time. I did get into a couple of different schools in the Canadian landscape, which I'm sure you guys are all aware. And the reason why I chose Schulich is because of the great things that I had heard, the faculty, the job market, Toronto being the center or the hub, essentially, of all things that really happen in Canada. So those were some of the reasons, and I would love to sort of like dive into various different things
Great.
as you guys have questions.
Thank you so much, Kunal. So let's dive a little bit more into your pre-experience. You spoke a little bit about why Canada, why Schulich, but walk us through your prep as you decided. You got admitted. Why did you choose to accept that offer from Schulich, and what did that journey look like for you on the immigration side as you prepared to come to Canada, and what kind of supports did you get from Schulich at that time?
Absolutely. So, if I remember it correctly, when I had done applications, I was already thinking about my permanent residency. So I had, when I got I think the admission from the recruitment office, so now it will be Carl's office, I guess, right? At the time, I had a couple of options, either to apply for study permit or to apply for permanent residency as well. I did, reach out to my recruitment coordinator, trying to gauge options, whether I should try to apply for PR or study permit. He connected me, at the time, he connected me to Anne, who has been at Schulich and is a lovely person to get to know. So I'm sure you guys can reach out to her. She sent me very detailed, I would say, a document as to here are the different steps, here are the different options that you have. At the time, I had applied for permanent residency. And then I was waiting to get my PR. And then I joined in the winter cohort, but my permanent residency did not come in time. So I had to apply for study permit. Now, when you do permanent residency and study permit at the same time, there's something, I think it's called like a dual application. I don't want to make quotes because I think Anne is the best person to guide you on that. But then she did help me, because you have to sort of like write letters to ensure that the immigration office is aware that you've had like two certain applications, right? So I came in on a study permit, and then within a semester or two, I ended up getting my permanent residency, which also helped me to sort of, think about uh, like financing my education as a domestic student for the rest of my time at Schulich, from Canada, essentially. So there are lots of, I would say, resources, and there's lots of help out here. And then that really helped me. I think the interaction with the folks in the panel really made my decision easier to, choose Schulich and start my journey here. So.
Sounds like you took maybe one of the harder routes for immigration. And anything to add on sort of the typical experience for students and what kind of support they can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I clearly remember Kanal and working with Kanal and, all the great things you did at Schulich while you were here. But yeah, I would say, so for students who are admitted to Schulich, we work with you from day one. So whatever your questions are, like Kunal's, when he was admitted, and we worked with him before he even started at Schulich, providing detailed information and guidance and answering questions, whether it's on PR or study permits or whatever it may be, having access to a professional team of immigration advisors is invaluable, because we can help you sort through the noise and help you understand what are your particular pathways. I see some questions in the chat asking you, like, how do I get PR? It's not that simple. Like, we need to know exactly who you are and how you align with Canadian immigration law. So that's how we support students, and that's how we supported Kanal and many students like Kanal.
Great, thanks. And sort of let's fast forward a little bit. So you've gotten your study permit now, you're preparing to arrive in Canada. Can you speak a little bit more to the non-immigration supports that you experienced coming into Schulich, Kunal? And what did that transition to moving abroad look like for you?
Yeah.
What were some of the academic or professional or even student supports that you experienced when you came in? How did you build a community for yourself when you arrived?
That's a pretty loaded question. I would say here, like my belief is, B schools or Schulich in general has a lot to offer, right? It is up to the individual or the students who come in, to take all it can, right? When it comes to sort of like various different supports, like Minerva was talking about the Career Development Center, we have student services. There are things on the campus, whether that is housing or, meeting students in general from your community, from different communities. There are student clubs. There is a student government, right, which is called the Graduate Business Council, which I was part of. So there are tons and tons of opportunities for students to come on. And obviously, what the Schulich experience teaches you is trade-off, right? What all can you do, right? What all can you learn? What all can you take in? So with that sort of like context, I would say I came in towards the winter cohort in 2019. So I did like a back-to-back 16-month program and graduated in April 2020, which was the pandemic. When I came in, obviously, initial bits of support, I remember connecting with student services team to sort of understand what are the different resources that are available for an international student on campus. Sorted my housing out. I also was lucky enough to, I mean, one, I would say it was pretty bold that I ended up sort of like, running for student government. And then I ended up getting elected for it, which helped me sort of interact with the wider student population. It also sort of like resulted in various different things, right? So right from the get-go, when you come in, once you sort of like establish yourself onto the campus, there are various different activities. So the Career Development Center is going to sort of have these different networking events where you do get opportunities to network, right? They will help you with, your resumes or how to look at your LinkedIn profile, how to tell your story. But at the end of the day, I think what really lies with the individual or the student itself is the relationship building, right? Like building relationship goes a long way. So surely can open the door for you. It can introduce you to a couple of people, but what you do with that introduction or what you do with that networking is totally on yourself, and how you kind of go about building that relationship over a period of time, meeting people, learning from them, right? Whether that is alums, whether that is, in general, people in the market or even at school, right? So doing that really helps. Like I said, I ended up being on the student government. I did also work part-time at Schulich itself in the Schulich IT department. I did internships towards the later end of my program. I remember it was, I think, in the third or the final semester where I was interning with a venture capitalist firm. And I was part of like the Schulich startups community. So there's tons and tons of opportunities, I would say. It is up to you to, one, take the initiative to be part of it, to understand what makes sense for you, and to make certain trade-offs, because you're not going to be able to do all the networking events. You're not going to be able to do everything, but it is something that you guys should be prepped for, to take initiative and uh, you know jump into things and then experience it. And then that might sort of like give you more clarity and change your direction. Like I remember coming into the MBA thinking I wanted to do consulting, and the various different experiences kind of made it very clear to me that product management was my passion, and that's what I started working towards. And I have ended up being here for now.
Thank you. It sounds like you took full advantage of everything that you had available to you
Try.
through the on-campus networking, the career networking. Um, Reflecting back on your time at Schulich and as an international student, what would you say were sort of the biggest wins or decisions that you made that helped you in your career along the way? And then also, what sort of advice would you give a new international student coming in when you're reflecting back on what some of those areas of biggest impact were for you?
Yeah. So one thing that I always say is try to optimize for learning rather than optimizing for a specific role, right? Because here's your opportunity to come to B school and, sort of get exposed to various different curriculums, various different things. And often a role requires different skills that you will gain from different experiences and different courses, right? So if you come in just thinking that, okay, this is what I want to do, and then you're going to be very, again, and to each their own. But I think what I was trying to do is I was trying to do a few different things to gain different experiences and different skills. And a lot of these skills and experiences are very transferable into any kind of role that you eventually, towards the latter end of your program, right, decide to do. So come in, explore different things, and then hopefully formalize your vision somewhere, along the way, that this is what I want to do. So in terms of my wins, I would say, one, I focused a lot on, I was from a tech background, right? But I focused a lot on strategy and entrepreneurship, really. And tried to take a lot of courses from there, which looked at some of the things which I didn't necessarily had experience on. Um, and then that's from a course perspective, or the different curriculum perspective. The second thing I think, which was a big win, and it is crazy how Schulich allows these opportunities. But as a student government, being on the student government, I raised that the school needed like a student engagement platform. Before that, there were various different websites through which students were doing things. So this was a completely student-led initiative. Um, and we ended up, as a student government, talking to all the different departments at Schulich. People were very supportive, and eventually we ended up launching a student engagement app, which, as I recently heard, is still alive at Schulich. It's called One Schulich. It is the one-stop shop where students go in. They get a lot of information today about student clubs, about the various different events that happen. And in the pandemic, I remember it kind of had become an online student campus, really, where students were interacting. But obviously now things are open and the experiences are great. So that was one thing. So ended up proposing a student engagement app, building it, rolling it out for the different students as a director on the Graduate Business Council. I think that helped me shape my perspective on product management as well a lot, because here I was given an opportunity to really build a product for a very specific set of customers, rather the student population at school. And then there were different sort of like, through my Schulich Startups network, I ended up getting into a mentoring program, or mentoring slash internship program, where I was working with professionals firsthand towards the later end of my semesters. And that really helped me gain a better understanding of the job market, and what are some of the skills that people look for, I would say. So yeah, it was quite packed, it was intense, but loved every bit of it. Wouldn't trade or change any of it, I would say.
Great, thank you. And I'm just going to, in a moment, introduce or bring our other guests on to answer some of the questions that you are all asking in the Q&A. So please keep them coming, because we're going to be moving to some more audience questions. So please utilize the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions that you have of Kunal, Dr. Minerva Cernia, or Carl. So we're going to be bringing them back on. And I have one last question for Kunal. If you can sort of talk about all of those experiences that you had and how those then related into your long-term career. So what did life after Schulich look like in terms of your career? And what would you say really contributed to you finding that right path? So you talked about not consulting. I found a different way. So can you sort of summarize some of those experiences and what had the most impact on your ultimate career post Schulich?
Yeah. Well, I'll share it, but I don't think a lot of people, because I graduated in the pandemic, guys. So if anyone had it worse, I would say it would be me, right? But here I was sort of trying to graduate in April, and in March 2020, the lockdown came in. And at the time when lockdown came in, it was just a 2 to 3 week lockdown, and you didn't know that those 3 weeks were going to get converted into 6 long months, right? Which, as an international student, can be very stressful. With someone, as someone who's sort of like taken loans and come to this school trying to sort of like make a mark, and everything was going great, and the pandemic turned everything upside down, I would say. Well, after you sort of like get over, I think through different experiences at school, you will learn, and just being, outside your country, away from your home, you'll learn to sort of like get over challenges, I would say. How Schulich supported me is I still continued working on the student campus, like my job, the part-time job which I had. So in my first year, I had launched a web app. In the second year, we kind of like launched a mobile app. The opportunity was there. I was grateful. I continued sort of like working on the student campus for a little bit. There was continued guidance if you ever had to sort of like reach out to, any career development coach, so on and so forth. There was guidance, there was support. It was just the market at the time was going through ups and downs. People were not sure, jobs were not there in the market, so that was sort of like a really tough time. So it took me about like 5 to 6 months, and and after I finished my sort of like part-time with Schulich, I also continued working, doing my internship essentially for free, just to build my experience. And that helped me say that, hey, during the pandemic, here are a couple of things that I did to keep myself busy and to keep, gaining skills and so on and so forth. And I think it was October 2020 when I landed my first job in Canada. Worked there for about, I think, a year or so. And then I moved into Thomson Reuters, and this year I'd be completing 5 years at Thomson Reuters. I think seems like a very long time. But the learning doesn't stop, at Schulich. You got to keep learning. Once you sort of figure out your path, there are, post Schulich, you will find different things. You will find things that will interest you. Because I did not learn generative AI at Schulich. When I was at Schulich, generative AI wasn't there, right? Like now there are AI courses as well in the Tech MBA, which will help you support that. The school will prepare you all it can, but you need to have that mindset, like I said, to optimize for learning, to overcome obstacles, to invest in relationships, and really see how your career goes within Canada.
Thank you. It sounds like you really built resilience and adaptability, which are also important skills for students on the graduating and entering the job market, and also a fantastic network that it sounds like you're still tapping into today. So with that, I'm going to open it up a little bit more and answer some of your questions. So Saranya has a question around how the Center for Career Design supports international students differently than domestic students in securing internships and full-time roles in Canada. We'll start with Minerva, and then we'll pass it on to Anne for any other sort of supports for international students.
So we do have a number of services that we provide for the international students, which are advising, which is customized and talks about how they can translate their experience from their home country to the Canadian market. We do have a professional development course for certain programs that the students can take it either as an elective or it's mandatory for the few programs like Tech MBA and the Master of Marketing and Master of Management. And when we bring internships for the school, we consider also the part-time opportunities, and we created credit-based placement courses that allow for part-time work, which is customized to the needs of the international students. So it is for them to be able to build this Canadian experience that in many cases can be relevant. Just to make a bracket here, because there was another question there about is this Canadian experience always necessary, or can projects replace it? And I have to mention that all the programs in Schulich have consulting project courses embedded in them, which allows for building Canadian working experience, because these projects are done with real industry partners. The idea here is how you translate and how you tell this story so that is relevant for the Canadian recruiters and the Canadian companies. And there we help on one-on-one advising sessions, as well as workshops, webinars, in any way possible, so the students are aware and they can customize their documents, and also the way they come into the interview process.
Fantastic. And I know we have a few more questions. We're going to get through those, but I wanted to first thank Kunal for really an insightful review of his journey. And I understand now that you're a Canadian citizen. Is that right?
Yes, I am. I got my citizenship a couple of years ago now. So yeah, it's been good.
So, congratulations. Before I turn it over to some of our other panelists, I just wanted to sort of have you reflect back now. You thought, okay, where am I going to study? Should I choose Canada? Should I choose Schulich? Any reflections on your choice now that you're a number of years out from graduation? Are you glad that you chose
Yeah.
Canada? What are some of the highlights now that you're looking back on your decision?
Well, I'm glad. I would say I'm a Schulich thoroughbred. I found my wife at Schulich. My sister just 2 years ago completed another program at Schulich as well. So can't go much wrong with it. And she's working with Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, right now. So things have been good. And all the different programs, because I did my MBA, my wife did a specialized MBA, which is like the tech MBA program. My sister did a 1 year master's program at Schulich, so can't go much wrong. No regrets, I would say. Again, but I would say this, right? It's about the mindset that you as students come into a different country, to a different school with. There are tons of opportunities that are out there. It will be overwhelming. It will feel like a lot, but that's the reason why you are coming for a 2 year program, to experience all the different things and to understand what is good for you, right? To grab all the opportunities that are ahead of you and to make trade-offs, because you can't do 10 things at the same time, but maybe you can do five, and what those five things are is really important for you. One thing that I would love to say is invest in relationships. All these people that you see on the panel, it is not the first time that I'm seeing them today. I have known them now for about 5, 6 years. It's great to sort of like, have people, mentors, guides who you can always reach out to. They are very nice and warm and loving people. Schulich tends to, treat you as family. But again, do your part in building those relationships as well, because that's what's going to take you far. So that's all that I got to say.
Really, really great insights. Thank you, Kunal. And I wanted to see if you had anything to elaborate on sort of some of the additional hurdles and supports that international students face, and outside of immigration, how Schulich and the wider community supports international students.
Yeah, absolutely. Because beyond immigration, there's obviously a number of other considerations for international students. And it's a major decision to uproot your life and decide to move halfway around the world to pursue graduate education. And so we provide holistic support from day one, not just on the immigration piece, but also around that transition. So housing, health insurance, connections to Schulich before you even start. Where do you live? How do you navigate the transit system? Where should your kids go to school? All of those various things our team supports our students with, to ensure that, when you start at Schulich day one, we want you to be prepared. We want you to be in the right mindset. So we want to help support you to get through all of those other, things that you have to figure out in order to uproot your life and move to Canada. So lots of ways that we are working with students, in their individual circumstances. And we work very, very closely. Like, I still remember Kunal in his role with the Graduate Business Council. So we work really, really closely with the student associations as well, like the Graduate Business Council, to ensure that we're responsive to the current needs of students. So Kunal and I worked closely together. Kunal was amazing at building and really developing a sense of community amongst the students at Schulich, which has lived on as part of his legacy. And so, like he said, we're like family at times, and we're here to make sure that you feel settled and supported, and that this is your home for the time that you're with us at Schulich.
They say your network is your net worth, and it sounds like Kunal, you really made sure that that was central to your time at Schulich. And with that, I know you have to go on to some meetings. We have one more question that I'm going to ask, but I want to thank Kunal once again. And I know you have to go on to your work day. And we'll close it off with how do we get into Schulich? There's a question here, and I'm going to pass it to Carl. What separates those from who get admission from those who don't? Thanks, Kunal.
Thanks, Kunal. Thanks, Lindsay, for that question. Great question. And I'll try and keep it as concise as possible. So, what we're looking for is intention. What are you trying to achieve? What goals do you have as a result of the program that you're interested in? And can we help you get there? That's what we're looking for at its core. And we look at whether or not a candidate is going to be successful in a few different areas. One, we're looking for your academic background. Have you demonstrated that you have performed well in your academics in your previous institutions? And that gives us an indicator that you're going to be continuing with that when you're with us. Also, for certain programs, we require a GMAT or a GRE test score that gives us more information about your quantitative and verbal problem-solving abilities. This is normal for business schools. So mainly we're looking for that for the Masters of Finance program, Masters of Accounting, and the MBA program. And then after that, we ask for a series of essays. This is where you highlight yourself as a great addition to our class. And you're describing to us your goals. You're describing your background. You're describing what you want to achieve and how we can help you get there. We're looking for that alignment. And then if all of that looks good to us, then you get invited to an admissions interview. That's a 30-minute conversation with me or a member of my team. We'll ask you questions again about why you want to join Schulich and what you're looking to achieve. So for that, it's not like a high-pressure interview where we're going to ask you trick questions. We're really looking to learn more about you and see how you can fit into our class. We're really trying to build a class for each of our programs which creates like a more dynamic learning environment for anyone joining because you're surrounded by other people that are like-minded or have several similar intentions. Or we're also seeing maybe there's a different program that's a better fit for you, or maybe right now is not the right time. And you're thinking maybe 18 months out, 2 years out might be a better fit. So that at its core is what we're looking for, but each program we're looking for something a little bit different. So I encourage you all double check the admission requirements on our website because everything or for each program, there are nuances to what the right fit candidate can be. But broadly speaking, we're looking for people that are active, engaged in their communities and their current work, in their background, and that you're indicating to us how you'd be a great fit for our school.
Great, thank you. Now I know we're a couple of minutes over. I'm going to close out our session in just a minute. We're going to finish with a quick sentence from each of our speakers on what advice they would give from their perspective, whether it's career, immigration, or admissions, to prospective students. So we're going to close out with that. But very quickly, I see a few questions in the chat. I would encourage you to reach out around your specific requirements for scholarships or credentials. So Carl, if you could share once again the Schulich email that they can get in contact so that they can ask those specific questions. And very quickly, I'd love for you to also answer a little bit more about, I see you're quickly answering a lot of these questions. So that's fantastic. Sounds like Carl's getting through those. And I'm going to pass it to whoever is ready to give their parting advice. So either Anne or Dr. Minerva Cernia, please let us know what your parting words are. Anne.
I can go first. So we know this is a major decision. I've worked with thousands of international students. This is not an easy decision to make, to choose to study abroad for graduate school. The most important thing that you can do is once you've made a decision and you've submitted your application, you've received your offer, is connect with the resources available to you. Those are part of the supports that come with your offer of admission. So particularly for international students, navigating that initial study permit process with the Canadian government, it can be complicated. Make sure you're using trusted, experienced resources. There's so much missing. Please do not chat GPT. How do I get a Canadian study permit? It will give you the wrong information. I do it all the time and it's wrong. So please do not do that. Use the resources. If you're admitted to Schulich, connect with our team as your first step. Attend our sessions. follow our advice, and we can help support you through that process to get you into the country. And then once you're here, as you heard from Kunal, as you'll hear from all of us, use those resources. We're here to support you. Your success matters to us. So we're here to make sure that that is easier for you.
Thank you. Minerva.
Oh, maybe to say that once you are in Schulich, definitely you are not alone. We are here to support you to secure you have a relevant, fulfilling job at the end of your experience. I would say also very important is that we are very close. We are working together very closely for our students to be successful. So this is not just a random example. We do this day in, day out. Our scope is that you get a very good education and you get a very good job at the end of it. And I wanted to say that Kunal is also paying back. He's very involved as a mentor, coming in the different classes. Like for the Tech MBA, he mentored 2 students already. He came in the product management class. And this is how also the jobs are happening, because they are coming from our alumni. We have a huge alumni network, very active, very involved. So yeah, we are looking forward to working with you. I'm stopping here.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it to Carl for any last parting advice as people are preparing their applications.
No problem. So a lot of we've said so much today, but we do have more information sessions and other ways that you can connect with our team. So if you have more inquiries, need more information as you're going through that investigative process, reach out to us. I'm going to drop into the chat the RAD admissions events link, and you can see some upcoming events. Oh, excuse me. And you can see some upcoming events there. But the other important thing is if you're applying for fall 2026, and those are the programs I mentioned earlier today, your deadline, your recommended deadline is February 20th. And we've already extended that. So we strongly encourage you to apply by then. You'll be getting the application fee waiver code shortly in your email inboxes. By that February 20th allows us enough time to review your application, for us to hold the admissions interview with you. And then if everything looks right and you receive an offer, you have a bit of time to decide if you want to accept that offer. And then if you do, you can then go through the study permit application process along with Anne and her team's support to actually join us in September. But applying any later than February 20th, that's where we start getting to a very kind of precarious range where with the processing times being what they are, it can be a bit more challenging. So apply as soon as possible with a strong application. The other things I mentioned earlier. So it's better to submit a strong application than no application, or then a weak application. And then we'll give some unpleasant news as opposed to what we like to do and submit great candidates. So that being said, apply by the 20th and looking forward to seeing what you submit.
Fantastic. Thank you. And yes, this session was recorded. It will be posted on Seed Global Education's YouTube site and website. If you do want to review this information again, or if you missed out on any of it. And once again, there are application fee waivers if you do choose to apply to one of Schulich's master's programs. And you can either connect with Schulich directly on that app fee waiver information or back to Seed, and we can help to connect you on receiving that application waiver should you choose to apply. So thank you to our panelists, to the Schulich School of Business, for some great information and advice today about studying in Canada generally, but also Schulich specifically. And thank you to everyone that has joined us today. Some very thoughtful questions. It sounds like you are all very prepared and really thinking strategically about studying abroad, and we wish you your best as you continue your journey. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day or a great evening. Bye.
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 Bye.